You're live.
Good morning. Welcome to the Economic Development and Equity Subcommittee. Today is January 26, 2022. We will be starting the meeting. Is there a call to the public?
There's no call to the public.
Thank you. Item number 1 is minutes. Do I have the approval of minutes from December 14th, 2021?
I move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a approval and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes. Item number 2, this is rental rehabilitation program follow-up. Are we ready to go?
Vice Mayor, yes, we are. Here at the table for our first item, we have Gina Montes, Deputy City Manager, and Spencer Self, Neighborhood Services Director. And with that, we'll hand it over to Gina Montes.
Good morning, Vice Mayor and members of the subcommittee. Last month, Spencer and his team presented an update on the rental rehabilitation program. At that meeting, we were requested to return to provide a plan to award all of the $1 million allocated to the program and address programmatic challenges. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Spencer Self, our Neighborhood Services Director, to provide the update.
Thank you, Gina. Vice Mayor and members of the subcommittee, I'm so glad that you requested us to come back and provide additional details on this program, as a lot has changed in the past month, and I hope you'll be as pleased with the progress as we are. This slide provides a reminder of general information about the program and was provided as part of last month's presentation. For any viewers at home who may not have watched that meeting, the rental rehabilitation program was expanded this fiscal year to help achieve the goals of the Housing Phoenix plan to maintain affordable housing. With $1 million of initial community development block grant funding, we are investing in housing rehabilitation of rental units at up to $40,000 per unit for a maximum of up to $400,000 per project. As a result of the city's investment, the units must be kept affordable for a minimum of 10 years. Finally, owners are required to contribute to the project as well, with a match up to 25%. Now, as you recall, last month we discussed one project that had been approved by City Council in October, and another item that would be going to the Community and Cultural Investment Subcommittee, followed by full City Council in January. I'm happy to report the subcommittee recommended approval of that award, and it will be on this afternoon's agenda for full council. Those projects make up a total of 8 units for a maximum award of $320,000, which is approximately 1/3 of the total amount allocated for this program. But the really exciting update is on proposals we received in December. We received submittals for 5 properties with a total of 20 units that were deemed responsive and moved forward to the review panel, who recommended their approval just this week. We will be taking these projects forward to subcommittee and full council in February, which will account for just over the $1 million allocated for the program. In total, we're talking about preserving 28 units of affordable housing.
Spencer.
Yes.
Did I hear 8 recommended applications or 7? Because the slide says 7.
Yes, so there are 7 recommended applications. The 1 3-unit project in October of 2021, the 1 5-unit project in January of 2022, so that's this month, and then we have the 5 4-unit projects, or the 5 projects that are expected in February.
Okay, so the total is 8 recommended applications? 7
recommended applications, 28 total units.
Okay, got it. That's where I was like, okay, I was reading it and I was like, well, he just said 8. I'm like, what does that mean? Okay, thank you.
You got it. Thank you. All right. So I know the process timeline was of interest to the subcommittee. So this slide will help show the broad steps necessary from application to construction completion. Applications are received throughout the first month to be reviewed in the second month. During that second month, we determine if applications are responsive. In other words, do they meet the minimum requirements of the program? If they do not, we provide feedback to the proposer, who will have an opportunity to resubmit their application to be considered the next month. If the application is deemed responsive, it moves forward to a review panel that evaluates and scores the proposal to provide a recommendation to move forward to the Community and Cultural Investment Subcommittee and City Council in the third month. In the fourth month, we work with the owner on pre-construction activities, including inspecting and an assessment performed by our housing rehabilitation specialists. Before that can happen, by federal law, tenants must be notified by the owner of the property that we are in the initial stages of the project. Any delay in that process delays the ability to begin construction in a timely manner. We hope to begin work in the fifth or sixth month and complete the projects within a year to a year and a half of initial application, which will be highly variable depending on the scope, unique property considerations, and commitment of the owners. In working to identify opportunities to expedite timely completion, 2 items stand out. First, in the second month, if a first review of the application deems it to be ineligible for a missing document or a critical piece of information, we could allow a small window of time for the proposer to submit the missing information to still be considered during that month's panel review process. This could save 1 to 2 months for these applications. Additionally, because this was a newly expanded program, we wanted to bring each approval to the CCI subcommittee before taking it to full council. However, as we've gotten more experience with this first round of funding and as we've allocated the full $1 million we're expecting next month, we could expedite the approval process by 2 to 4 weeks by bringing the item straight to full council unless a unique situation presents itself. Now, I would be remiss if I did not discuss a few program challenges we've experienced since program launch. While we are very excited about the 7 projects and 28 units that are moving forward, we have had 18 applications deemed ineligible for the following reasons. 1, we had a few that were outside the designated target areas. We believe that these applications were simply due to the initial confusion when the program launched. We don't expect that will be an ongoing issue, but if we are seeing submittals or interest outside of the initial target areas, that's great information that we can use and work with our council offices to expand or change the boundaries based on that demand. Additionally, and far more, applications were submitted incomplete. Now, I believe the improvements we discussed on the prior slide will help reduce issues with those incomplete applications. But we also want to do a better job of advertising that technical assistance is available prior to submitting a proposal that can help ensure they have the best opportunity for success right from the start. Additionally, as mentioned earlier, we are expecting to have fully exhausted our initial $1 million in funding next month. We're currently in our annual action plan process, developing our budgets for our federal formula grants, including CDBG for next year. However, that means we currently don't have any designated funding to continue awards for the time being. The program was designed to stop receiving applications once funds are fully exhausted, but we could continue to receive and complete initial eligibility review to build a wait list to more quickly hit the ground running once additional funding has been identified. So again, I hope you all are just as excited as we are about the information we presented today. And while this item was not scheduled for action, we would be happy to accept any guidance you may have on the potential program changes discussed or answer any additional questions you may have.
Councilwoman Stark.
Thank you, Chairman. Spencer, so if we want to continue the program, what do you see as a feasible amount of money? Because it appears it's working quite well.
Vice Mayor, Councilwoman Stark, I completely agree, and I'm sorry this is a terrible pun, but that is the $1 million question right now.
Oh.
I know. We're working very closely with our housing department, as well as internal staff who are working on that, the annual action plan to determine what funding may be available. We also know that at this time of year, we're looking at ARPA funding to do a variety of affordable housing investments. And so we want to make sure that while we're looking at all the potential funding, that we're making sure we're investing in the best programs possible. We do think that this is a very successful program, and we absolutely will be allocating more funds to it. However, it will take a couple of months to determine how much we should be allocating.
And so you're thinking that maybe we could use some ARPA funds as well to continue this program? Is that my understanding?
That is one potential source of funding.
Okay.
But I know we're also looking at ARPA funding for a lot of other investments in
Okay.
the affordable housing area.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Spencer, Councilwoman OBrien, do you have any questions?
I do, Madam Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Spencer, could you remind us of the target area, please?
Vice Mayor and Councilwoman OBrien, in each council district, we worked with your offices to designate the initial target areas. And so, for instance, in Council District 1 in your district, Cactus Wren area between Dunlap and the canal from 43rd to 35th Avenue was selected. But each council district has areas that were identified.
Excellent. Thank you again. And just in case folks missed last time, the slide that talks about the affordability period being 10 years, what is the definition of affordability?
Sure. So that is a wonderful question, Councilwoman. And affordability is kind of a two-pronged test. One is the Department of Housing and Urban Development issues maximums for rent to determine whether or not they are considered affordable, as well as it's working with the tenants who are occupying those properties to make sure that it is affordable for them.
Okay. Appreciate that. And then I appreciate the additional information. Exciting that we have some new projects coming, and love the feedback or suggestions on the project timeline. I would fully support you allowing a correction period if that saves 30, 60 days. I do not sit on the CCI and certainly would defer to Madam Chair of that, and those committee members, but I certainly would also be supportive of it coming directly to City Council when it can say 2 to 4 weeks for folks. You know, a 3-month savings is huge for our residents, especially in this critical housing crunch for all of us. So thank you for answering my question, Spencer, and for bringing this presentation back to us. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ansari, do you have any questions?
Sure, thank you. I was curious about in terms of those who are ineligible, what are some of the most common documents that are typically missing from those rejected applications?
Absolutely, and another wonderful question. And Vice Mayor, Councilwoman Ansari, predominantly the information that is missing is tax documentation as well as tenant information. As part of using community development block grant funds, an underwriting process is required to make sure that it is a sound investment. And so there are key pieces of financial information that are required, as well as, of course, we want eligible tenants. And so we need to make sure that those tenants are eligible and that this is affordable in order to meet the federal requirements.
Got it. And then in terms of kind of building off of Councilwoman O'Brien's question, are you seeing any difference between the districts in terms of successful applicants, or, you know, certain districts that may need more attention in terms of support?
Another wonderful question. So I believe so far we have had projects in District 3 and District 8. Those are really the only 2 districts that we've had successful projects. So absolutely, we would be more than happy to work with the rest of the council districts on what we can do to increase the potential for applications, whether that's additional advertising, reaching out to different groups, or maybe even adjusting some of those target areas.
Interesting. And what was it, do you think, in those districts that made it successful?
To be perfectly honest, I think it just happened to be where there was some affordable housing and some investment that was needed. We know in District 8, which the vast majority of the projects that we have moved forward were in District 8. We had one in District 3. I think there's a lot of need. But also just awareness of the program. The 5 applications that are moving forward for recommendation next week are all owned by the same organization, a nonprofit organization. And so they were looking at their entire portfolio and the need that they have. They have units that are not currently in production, and so those would be new units available for affordable housing. And they had quite a few that were in production that needed some help.
Okay, I see. Well, thanks so much. That's really helpful. And like my colleagues, I very much support continuing the program at whatever amount you feel makes the most sense, and however we can best work together to identify projects in the district, that would be great as well.
So, Spencer, thank you for this great presentation and providing it, breaking it down, and also making sure that the affordability period of 10 years is in this process, because that was, I think it's all of ours, making sure the affordability is there in the sense of 10 years as we're in such a crunch of housing. My other question is equity. I think you're seeing, and as questions were happening, I think there needs to be equity across all districts, and even I don't even know how to even term it, but everybody in each district is working and receiving or assisting in getting applicants into the pipeline. But I'm glad that the question was asked, because the other question that I had was regarding a applicant putting several units in and them not across all districts. And it's only concentrated in one, which is fine, because in some certain areas there's a greater need, but I think that needs to be looked at. And really making sure that we have affordability across all our districts. I think that's really important. Because in one of my reports in the applicant, that there is an applicant that put in for, I want to say, I don't even know how many projects. And so I think we need to really look at that. So thank you once again. Has anybody else have any other questions? Thank you, Spencer. Now we're moving to the Landlord Incentive Program follow-up.
Good morning, Vice Mayor and members of the subcommittee. I'm here to provide you with a follow-up presentation on the Landlord Incentive Program. During last month's discussion, the subcommittee requested to know more about the need and possible options of distributing the full $1 million in a timely manner. To recap, in August 2020, the City Council authorized $500,000 of Federal CARES Act funding to launch the Housing Department's Landlord Incentive Program. This strategy was to help combat the shrinking number of units and fewer housing opportunities available for Phoenix Section 8 voucher holders. The incentive program offers landlords a one-time $500 incentive payment for executing a Section 8 housing assistance payment contract. This incentive is per unit, and a property owner can be eligible for more than one incentive if the owner executes multiple HAP contracts. The initial funding of $500,000 was exhausted in exactly 1 year, from October 2020 to October 21. In that time, 1,000 incentives were paid to 405 landlords, meaning 405 new Section 8 HAP contracts. Of those, 127 were first-time Section 8 landlords. This was a significant milestone, and the support of the Council was appreciated at this time. It also increased the number of housing options for our voucher holders. These incentives also helped to retain 278 landlords within the program. Due to the program's success, in September 2021, the City Council showed continued support by approving additional $1 million of federal American Rescue Plan Act funding to replenish the old $500,000. To provide some background, the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program is the federal government's major program for assisting very low-income families afford decent, safe housing in the private market. When a Section 8 voucher holder generally pays 30% of the household income towards rent and utilities, and a subsidy is paid to the landlord on behalf of the voucher holder by the housing department. The payment standard is the maximum subsidy the housing department can pay on behalf of the voucher holder. Fair market rents are housing market-wide estimates of rent plus the cost of utilities established annually by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. In the Phoenix rental market, voucher holders are facing difficulties locating available affordable units due to various factors, including stigma of the program, owners selling their properties to investors, or being outpriced in the skyrocketing rental market. The city's Housing Phoenix Plan, adopted by Council in June of 2020, established a goal to create or preserve 50,000 units by 2030. Based on the gap analysis conducted, Phoenix needs at least 163,000 units added, of which 100,000 of those need to be affordable or subsidized. According to S&P Global, which tracks U.S. residential real estate prices, Phoenix was at the top of the nation in the highest year-over-year housing price increase at 33%. In comparison, the nation overall saw a 19.8% increase in real estate prices. In the first 3 months, from October 2021 through January 2022, 193 incentives were paid to 164 landlords, of which 18 were first-time Section 8 landlords, helping to retain 147 landlords thus far using the new funding. We have dispersed, as of January 1st, 96,500 of the $1 million, with the $903,500 of these funds remaining to be dispersed. Coming to the new $1 million disbursement rate, the question was asked of me how quickly we can disperse the $1 million. Various factors can impact the disbursement rate of the program funds. However, based on the first year of the program, we know it takes 1 year to pay out $500,000 at $500 per incentive. Based on the current incentive amount, our projection is that we will expend all funds within 24 months or 2 years, which would be October of 2023. Factoring in that we began distributing funds in October of 21. We have 1,807 incentives remaining to be paid. Per the subcommittees and the Vice Mayor's request to review options to expend funds at a higher rate, I will present disbursement rates for 3 varying payment amounts should the incentive amount be increased to $1,000, $1,500, and $2,000 respectively. By increasing to $1,000 per incentive, under option 1 indicates fund will be expended in 11 months by December of 2022. Accounting for program funds utilized thus far, we would approximately pay out 904 payments remaining at this payment amount. Increasing to $1,500, option 2 indicates funds will be dispersed in 7 months by August of 2022, approximately 602 payments being paid over this time. And increasing to $2,000, option 3 indicates funds will be dispersed within 5 months by June of 2022, with approximately 452 payments being paid at this amount. Continuing the program with its current incentive amounts translates to a more extended timeline for expending all the funds over a greater number of units. Increasing the incentive amount would mean paying out more funds per unit and expending the funds more quickly. A benefit of increasing the incentive amount could make landlords that are uncertain of joining the program more receptive to renting to voucher holders due to the greater appeal of receiving a larger lump sum. Overall, the positive impact of providing monetary incentives persuades landlords to join the program or make additional units available to voucher holders to continue and help sustain and increase affordable housing stock options in the community. This concludes the landlord incentive follow-up presentation, and I welcome any guidance or questions you may have at this time.
Titus, out of the three options, what would you recommend? Or ranking?
Vice Mayor and members of the subcommittee, I think that's a good question and a good decision to be made, but what we're hearing from the community and the landlord community is the higher the incentive, more options could be available to our Section 8 voucher holders because they're competing in the private marketplace. So I would leave it up to the council and subcommittee to let me know what they're thinking. But one of the recommendations, I think, for example, City of Chandler is currently offering a $1,000 incentive. The county and Tucson are offering $500, but they're also talking about increasing the incentives to enable voucher holders to find housing.
Okay. Councilwoman Ansari, do you have questions?
Yeah, I was just wondering, Titus, that first of all, thank you so much for the presentation. I recall in the Housing Phoenix plan, there is reference to Housing Navigator positions that I am not sure. Well, I guess first my question is, have those positions been hired? And second, whether or not they have or not, is that something or that position someone who could potentially serve as a liaison or help us distribute these funds any faster?
Vice Mayor, members of the subcommittee, Councilman Ansari, good question. So currently, under the city manager's proposal to council that with the work study at policy, it was identified under the Human Services Department to provide landlord navigation as well. That's for the ARPA funding. But in the Housing Phoenix plan, as far as we are concerned in the housing department, we have a contract with a private entity to help with that process as well. But generally what has been happening is we are good about dispersing the funds. The challenge has been finding the units. And that's been the bigger challenge. And we are using, for the viewers out there, we use socialserve.com to publicize the housing stock available. Landlords can advertise on that website. And we're also trying to find another company to help us find units for our residents who have the vouchers too.
And can you elaborate on that a bit when you say the difficulty is finding the units? What does that look like?
So, Councilwoman, and Vice Mayor and members of the subcommittee, part of the challenge is because of the HUD Payment Standard, we are limited to how much rent, based on a reasonable rent study, we can pay out for a unit. And part of the challenge has been in the marketplace is some of the investment companies are coming in and buying private market rate units from the existing marketplace and raising rents. To such an extent, it is not feasible for a voucher holder to rent at that location. With the incentive being in the play, what we're seeing in some cases, the landlord feels incentivized to take the payment and then may consider a voucher holder to reside at that complex. So it's market-driven economy in terms of the rents being raised significantly to accommodate the private sector clients who are not voucher holders.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
I was going to go to Councilwoman O'Brien and then Councilwoman Stark.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Titus, can you tell me what do, I see that we can pay out anywhere between 90% and 110% of the fair market rent. Where are we at in what we pay?
Vice Mayor, members of the subcommittee, and Councilman O'Brien, currently we are at 105% of the HUD approved payment standards.
Okay, and is there any discussion in increasing that?
We have ongoing discussions, Vice Mayor, members of the subcommittee, but part of the challenge I have is if I increase it too high, then it helps fewer people. So I have to have a balance between helping our existing voucher holders, and if I make it too high, then fewer people will be not able to find units, or we cannot issue vouchers because it expends our HUD funds far quickly because the unit cost is very high. So we'll have people on the wait list waiting to get a voucher.
How many people are on the waiting list?
The last time we did the waitlist was in 2016, and we had over 27,000 applicants on that waitlist. So currently we have about 16,000 people on the waitlist.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to think about some more stuff, Chairwoman.
Thank you. Councilwoman Stark. You're on mute.
That is probably the most used phrase in our country. You're on mute. It looks like we're competing with people, let's say, that are moving from like California or New York, where they're used to paying a higher rent. Is that correct? Is that part of the competition problem we're having?
Vice Mayor, Councilwoman Stark, and members of the subcommittee, that is correct. We are competing in the marketplace, and also some of the things we have seen is investment companies buying existing apartment complexes and doing some rehab and then converting it to high private market rate apartment units.
So if we looked at option 3, which is 2,000, are we hurting ourselves if we go that high? Or I'm trying to kind of get a sense of all the options here.
Councilman Stark and Vice Mayor, members of the subcommittee, I think a $2,000 option would be a great incentive to private sector landlords because hypothetically, I'm just giving you an example, if a landlord has 4 voucher holders residing at a complex, if they receive $8,000, I think that's a game changer in terms of total rent they're receiving from that clients or clients that are residing at that complex.
So if we increase it that high, does that then limit the amount of people we can help or? Mm-hmm.
So Councilman Stark, that's a separate part of funding. So the rent portion is controlled by HUD, but the incentive is controlled by this council and subcommittee. So you have the power to enable our voucher holders to get housed.
Okay. So we can help with the number. I know, but Vice Mayor, you were thinking the same thing I was, that somehow we have to level it out. So if we help them with the cost, we still want to make sure we're helping as many people as possible. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So what I'm hearing is option 3. We could go with option 3 and then be able to still help as many people as possible.
Vice Mayor, members of the committee, that is correct.
Okay. Because what I heard also was the county, I think, was 1,000, and maybe I have it backwards. And Tempe was 500, or Tempe's 1,000 and county's 500.
So the city of Chandler is 1,000, and the county and city of Tucson currently at 500, but they're looking to revise those rates upwards.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair.
Vice Mayor, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, this item was slated for information and discussion.
It
wasn't slated for action today.
I totally missed that.
And I was ready to make the motion.
Yeah, I totally missed that. Can I, let's see.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Could, if there is consensus amongst this committee, it just go straight to City Council for action so that we don't delay getting as many units back out on the market for our folks at the option 3 level?
Well, we think alike. That's what I was going to ask our, I'm hoping an attorney's there or someone that knows if we can move this for information only, but can we move this to council?
So Vice Mayor Pastor and subcommittee members, you can direct staff to forward this item straight to council for action as opposed to bringing it back to the subcommittee. So you could direct us to do that today. So no action from the subcommittee, but recommend it to move forward.
Okay, does somebody want to direct?
I'm happy to direct that we move it forward for option 3.
Okay.
I would support that for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that all? That's everything we need from us, right?
Vice Mayor Pastor and subcommittee members, that is correct. Thank you.
Okay. And then item 4 is amend conservation easement.
Vice Mayor and
Madam-
subcommittee. Oh, go
Yes.
right ahead, Councilman.
Madam Chair, can I just say something real quick?
Sure.
So this is Michelle's last subcommittee meeting, and unfortunately, she's retiring. And that's sad news for all of us, but I just wanted to point that out. And I know you all knew that, but I just wanted to embarrass Michelle and say we're going to miss her immensely. Thank you.
Yes, we are. And there's obviously a very heavy item today that is in my area that will be one of her lasts. So thank you, Michelle, for all your service. Thank you for what you have done in the historic preservation arena. And I'm sure you'll still be around participating. So congratulations. I want to be there with you soon. Still need more years, but looking forward to it.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, this agenda item is a request to amend an existing conservation easement for a property at 612 North 5th Avenue for an additional 15 years. And with that, Ms. Stodds is going to walk us through her final subcommittee presentation. Go ahead, Ms.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, members of the subcommittee, and thank you very much for the kind words. And yes, you will be seeing me around. I won't be a stranger. So today we have an item to amend a conservation easement for 612 North 5th Avenue, which is in the Roosevelt Historic District. And here you see the duplex on the property on 5th Avenue. From 5th Avenue, you see the large setback in the front yard and the duplex itself, and then the rear of the property, which is where the new structure would be built. Back in 2007, the property owner received an exterior rehabilitation grant for $10,000. And with that, we have a 15-year conservation easement, which happens to expire this year on June 26th. Here you see a rendering of the fourplex that they're proposing to build behind the duplex. And the Historic Preservation Commission did recommend approval of this project on December 20th of last year. There was concerns expressed by some members of the commission that, well, what happens if they build the fourplex and then they decide to demolish the duplex, which is a contributor to the historic district. And so the applicant agreed to extend their conservation easement another 15 years. And so on December 20th, the commission recommended approval of amending that conservation easement to extend it 15 years out. And so we are here today to ask the subcommittee to recommend approval of this amendment to the conservation easement by an additional 15 years. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, I like to thank the owner for committing to that because it's an extra 15 years, and that shows the commitment to the historic, the value of a historic home, and also, as we saw our report in several months before, how historic homes contribute to our economy and contribute to our affordability of housing. So I like to thank that owner. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Vice Mayor.
I will second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I hear no nays. And the motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you so much.
So, Councilwoman Stark.
Yes.
I left out Pride. They couldn't get to me to brief me, and then when they briefed me, I believe last week, I meant to put Pride on here, and our agenda was already done. So I'm going to have a special meeting just for Pride. And so people will be, Ginger and staff will be looking at our calendars to have that discussion. I believe it should probably only be an hour, and we'll get that moving.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you, Madam Chair, for doing that.
Yeah, okay. Are there any other items that you would like on this agenda? I hear none. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Martin Luther King Jr. and the Honorable Calvin C. Good for their inspiration, leadership, and vision. Their legacies live on through those of us who continue to serve our communities and seek equality and justice for all people. As chair of the Arizona Community Foundation, I lead with a humble servant's heart, with investment strategies for all